Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin. Over 40 years ago, I was a school board member in Cheltenham Township, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. And I remember we had some raucous meetings back then. We didn't call in the FBI or the Department of Justice, of course. That would have been absurd, as it is today. But the issues today are actually more important. Have you ever wondered why the Democrats don't denounce critical race theory? Critical race theory is critical racism theory. It is bigotry. It is racism. It was born out of the 1970s. Its founding father was Derek Bell, who was a Marxist law professor at Harvard. He was considered fringe back then, and his scholarship was considered shoddy, if scholarship at all. And you see how this has spread like poison through our colleges and universities, through our body politic, and now in your elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. And you're being told to sit down and shut up and just take it. There's a very, very important gubernatorial race in the state of Virginia, as you know, because these issues are front and center, and these issues affect every corner of the United States, every classroom in the United States. Critical race theory has been embraced by the Democrat Party, by the media, by Joe Biden, who has enshrined it with executive orders. There's propaganda, brainwashing going on in our schools today, pushing critical race theory. And if we don't put an end to this, we are going to destroy this society. We're going to destroy this country. We're going to destroy the family structure, faith, and all the rest. Why? Because it's Marxism. As I said, it was born at Harvard Law School by a fellow named Derek Bell. And he was a Marxist. It's being pushed by Marxists, and that is the founding ideology behind this theory. Think about it. Oppressor and oppressed. If you are a certain race, you're oppressed. Even if you're not in your own life oppressed, you're oppressed because you're that race. If you're another race, you're an oppressor. Regardless, you might be the most righteous human being on the face of it. It doesn't matter because you're white. And that's how this works. So instead of the proletariat and the bourgeoisie, as Marx set it up, you have the oppressed and the oppressor, white versus all minorities. This is the Americanization of Marxism, and it is pernicious. So let's get started here. We're going to have two great guests, the Republican candidate for governor in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, and also the lieutenant governor candidate in Virginia, Winsome Sears. And we want to talk to both of them. But first, a quick redo. We had this letter from the National School Board Association, September 29, 2021, an inside job with the Biden administration and the Department of Justice. They colluded, they coordinated, they conspired to go after parents, grandparents, taxpayers, citizens who had serious concerns about critical race theory and this transgender movement, and other things going on in our schools to indoctrinate our children in what is Democrat Party ideology and Marxist ideology. And in part, you'll recall that letter said, these acts of malice, violence, and threats against public school officials by parents have increased. The classification of these heinous actions could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism and hate crimes. As such, the National School Boards Association requests a joint expedited review by the United States Department of Justice, Education, Homeland Security, along with the appropriate training, coordination, investigations, and enforcement mechanisms from the FBI, including any technical assistance necessary from and state and local coordination with its National Security Branch and Counterterrorism Division. So what happened? What happened after this phony letter was sent? First of all, the woman who signed it got a job 2 days later in the Biden administration at the Education Department. Are you aware of that? They not only coordinated with Biden and the Department of Justice, they coordinated, we believe, with the teachers' unions and others. 5 days later, a memo miraculously appears, as you well know, signed by Merrick Garland. We talked about it here first on Life, Liberty, and Levin. And among other things, in this very short memo, in the coming days, the department will announce a series of measures designed to address the rise in criminal conduct directed towards school personnel. When Garland was asked about this, he couldn't point to examples of the rise in criminal conduct against school personnel. It says, I am directing the FBI, working with each U.S. attorney, to convene meetings with federal, state, local, tribal, territorial leaders in each federal judicial district within 30 days of the issuance of this memorandum. These meetings will facilitate the discussion of strategies for addressing threats against school administrators, board members, teachers, and staff. We'll open dedicated lines of communications for threat reporting, assessment, and response, as if it's domestic terrorism. They have no examples of violence, certainly no pattern of violence whatsoever, as we discussed. And now we know Scott Smith, who was used by the National School Boards Association, the national media, the Biden White House, Merrick Garland, and others, as an example of violence. The man wasn't violent in the least. Violence was done to him and his family. His daughter had been raped in the girls' room at Stonebridge High School in Loudoun County, Virginia, where my kids went to school. Raped. It was covered up. They lied, the school board and the superintendent, to the people of Loudoun County. That boy was sent to another high school where he raped again, and he's been found guilty since by a juvenile court. Meanwhile, Merrick Garland has not withdrawn this memo, and the school board has not asked him to withdraw this memo. But now we have additional information that local law enforcement in Loudoun County, the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, was appalled by what the school board was doing. As Fox reported, new documents obtained by Fox News shed light on apparent conflict and frustration Loudoun law enforcement had with the school board, including a complaint that the board should have let residents speak at an explosive meeting on June 22. Emails also show Loudoun County Sheriff's Office rejecting what it said were extraordinary security measures, including an explosive sweep and undercover presence by the superintendents for future school board meetings. In an August 6 email, Superintendent Scott Ziegler requested multiple Loudoun County deputies, a 5-person quick reaction force, undercover deputies at the administrative building, a special operations team on standby, and several other provisions. Now, the Loudoun County Sheriff, Mike Chapman, who's a good man, I know him personally, said, stick it. We're not doing that to the people of Loudoun County. We're not doing it to the parents. There's no justification for this. Yet the feds still have that memo out where they want to target Loudoun County, every single school district where parents dare to speak out, with their domestic terrorism hotline. So if a teacher, a union member, a school board member says, oh, I feel threatened, they call and the FBI shows up. It's outrageous. These are parents. That's what this election about is in Virginia and the rest of the country. These are parents who want a quality education. Loudoun County, if not the richest, is one of the richest counties in the country, known for its school system. And the school SAT and other results are going down. They're plummeting because of the ideological agenda of the American Marxists and the Democrat Party and the teachers' unions and the educational bureaucrats and the superintendents' associations. And you have parents here who are standing up, Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Meanwhile, at a hearing, the Senate Judiciary Committee, Dick Durbin, the number 2 Democrat in the Senate, what does he say about these parents? These are not routine people incensed or angry. These are people who are acting out their feelings in a violent manner over and over again. The same people we see on airplanes and other places, some of whom we saw here on January 6th. Really, Senator? How about the people we saw with Black Lives Matter and Antifa? Are they the ones pushing the critical race theory ideology? How come you've never denounced Black Lives Matter or critical race theory? Ever. Why is that? Then Barack Obama must leave one of his multi-million-dollar mansions or a 200-foot yacht with one of his billionaire friends to fly into Loudoun County for a few hours, to fly into Virginia to help his friend Terry McAuliffe. Terry McAuliffe, whose policies are identical to Joe Biden's, whether it's inflation or taxes, whether it is immigration and so forth. Barack Obama, Breitbart writes, calls outcry over Loudoun County rape cover-up phony, trumped-up culture war. We don't have time to be wasted on these phony, trumped-up culture wars, this fake outrage the right-wing media peddles to juice their ratings. This is Obama. Now, the response to that was quick and harsh, that Barack Obama is ignoring, covering up rape that took place in the Loudoun County public school system, and apparently there's more of this under investigation now. And Obama makes this statement. Now a judge has found this man, this kid, so-called, guilty of rape. But Obama comes in. They don't care about the rape victim. They don't care about the education of the children. They don't care about the concerns of the parents. How do we know this? Terry McAuliffe has said throughout this race, this gubernatorial campaign, that this radical racist ideology is a racist dog whistle that his opponent, Glenn Youngkin, is using to divide the people, a racist dog whistle. Now, parents and the rest of us have been watching over the last year and a half when there was virtual education, and we saw what these kids were being taught. There are people making millions writing books that are being used in these classrooms. There are people making millions writing software that are used in these classrooms. And here we have Virginia's Department of Education is promoting a book, again Fox, that says teachers must embrace theories such as critical race theory. Despite the fact that McAuliffe says we don't do that in Virginia, the department's website provides resources for its equity initiatives, which includes a tab titled What We Are Reading, and the list comprised of resources the Equity Office recommends and references in its work includes books by anti-racist so-called advocate Ibram X. Kendi and Abolitionist Teaching Network co-founder Bettina Love. Quote, lastly, she writes, teachers must embrace theories such as critical race theories, settler colonialism, black feminism, disability and ability, critical race studies, and other critical theories that have the ability to interrogate anti-blackness. Love wrote, and we want to do more than survive, and it goes on and on. But McAuliffe said it's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle. You know, there's a reason the former governor of Virginia, an African-American, the first African-American governor, and so far the last African-American governor, Douglas Wilder, has condemned Terry McAuliffe. He said, you ran in a primary, Democrat primary, against two black women and defeated them. You did almost nothing as governor for the black community. He condemned Kamala Harris for swinging into Virginia with her videos. And he said, you've now exposed over 300 black churches to tax audits and worse, perhaps pulling their charitable foundation. And so he's condemned them both. And he said, it's not about the Democrat Party. It's about the citizens of Virginia, including the black citizens of Virginia. And the Democrat Party has lost connection with them. And that's the bottom line. It's lost connection with the entire country. Critical race theory, a Marxist, racist theory that turns American against American. The Democrat Party not only embraces it, it celebrates it and promotes it, from its presidents to its members of Congress to its school boards and the thugs that lead their teacher unions. When we come back, Glenn Youngkin and Winston Sears.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.